everyone. Happy New Year. It's 2016. I had a fabulous Christmas and a great New Year's. Quiet New Year's, but a good one just the same. I worked right through Christmas and New Year's this year, so spent family time when we could, and I had time off in between Christmas and New Year's, so we got to enjoy those days. And as a matter of fact, I lucked out because even though I was supposed to work Christmas Day, it ended up being my short shift, so I didn't actually have to go to work until noon, which meant I got to get up and enjoy Christmas morning with my family before I went to work. So that was great. I hope everybody have a fabulous Christmas or, December holiday season, and that y'all have a really good 2016, a productive 2016 with your stitching. Yeah, so we had a really good time. We had a fabulous Christmas. December was also the month of my dad's 70th birthday, and I got to give him his finished project because I haven't seen you guys since then. That was so exciting. He was so pleased. He was so pleased with it. It was worth all the work. It was worth all the effort. So that cross stitch of his boat is actually hanging in my mom and dad's house now, which is fantastic. So today what I want to talk about is my progress for December. I thought with December being what it was, working and trying to get everything ready for Christmas, I wouldn't have much progress, but I think I'm a little surprised by how much I actually got done in December. I don't know if it's because I'm working a rotation now, but I seem to be really motivated every week to work on something. I don't know if it's because I finished my dad's project at the end of November and my stitchy bug is like full on mental rage, right? Like every spare minute that I have, I want to have a needle and thread in my hand. It's ridiculous. It's getting a little out of hand, actually. So to speak. If I don't have to be cleaning the bathroom or tidying up after the kids or running errands, I'm pretty much in my stitchy chair. Yeah, it's gotten to that point. I've started hibernation, which is not good. I should be out enjoying a little bit of our winter. Oh God, I hate winter. But anyway, I still force myself to go out and enjoy it because I do enjoy it once I'm out into it. But it's the getting outside that's become an issue. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about my WIP updates and my rotation. I'm going to talk about Dad's birthday. I'm going to talk about, what else have I got here on my notes? A couple of new starts that I did January 1st for the new year, and a cabinet idea that has been spawned by the lovely Claire, Pyrex Stitches on YouTube. Naughty girl. She has started something that I just can't stop. It's just getting away from me. And poor husband. That's all I got to say. Poor husband, Claire. Poor husband. So the kids are off to school. I'm having my first coffee, so you'll have to excuse me while I drink that, because if I don't, I may not have any energy left. So WIP updates. As you all know, I started the Plum Street sampler that they put out. It was a freebie for leading up to Christmas. And they did a sampler called the 12 Days of Christmas. They released a block of the sampler every Sunday for several weeks, and you could go on their website, and I'll try and put a link in if I remember to do it. If not, I'm sure you guys have already seen this anyway. There's probably a link in one of my previous videos. So it's the 12 Days of Christmas. Now the design was meant to be charted, I think, 4 across and 3 down. So it's a total of 12 blocks. But I'm actually doing mine 3 across and 4 down because I wanted it to be narrow and longer. So I'll insert a picture of where you saw this one last. And this is where it is now. Okay. I didn't anticipate that I was going to get this done for Christmas. I knew I wouldn't, with Dad's project and all. So this is where it is so far. I am now working on day 6. I've made some changes to this chart, and I don't typically do changes, but I have made some changes. God, the lighting in here sucks this morning. So I decided that I wanted all of the titles to be in red. So I actually changed those because some of them were green. I've got them all in red. And I wanted to use the green more like a highlight for each block. So I picked something per block and stitched that in green. I think on this block here, for example, these were also supposed to be green, and I made them all red. Yeah. And I think on this block, I'm not sure if this was green and I made it red. Anyway, I still have to put the gold hoops, the gold rings, 5 golden rings, right? Not hoops, rings. I still have to put the gold rings on this block. This has actually become my work piece now. I'm stitching on this at work in my downtime. So because of that, I didn't have any Krennic at work, and I'm going to do that in Krennic, or heaven forbid, I have some of that. I still have DMC gold downstairs. I may just use that up because I'm trying to get, I don't want to throw it out, but I don't want to use it on anything big. So I may just use a little bit of it on that because I don't like the texture. I don't like the way that stuff stitches. But anyway, that's 12 Days of Christmas. So that has become my work project. I've been taking that back and forth to work. And I will continue to do so, I don't know, till it's done. And my intent is to finish that as a wall hanging for next Christmas. Box of whips. So, let's start. Flosstube is a horrible thing. I was so enabled in 2015, and I'm really like Dee Stitcher. I think this year, like 2016, is going to be a focus to finish for me. I think Dee is calling it Whip That Whip. That's going to be my 2016. That's going to be my focus, is to whip those whips. I'm going to focus to finish several things that I've got going on. I don't have any new starts planned anymore because I did start some for the 1st of January, but I have no further starts planned until something in my rotation is completed and done. I may not even start anything then. I may just whittle down the rotation till I only have 4, and then as one of those is finished, add in another one so that I have one for each week of the month, sort of thing. So, Monopoly board. I only just picked that up this week. I'm currently working on it right now. I was supposed to work on it during Christmas, but I had taken out my Haid and I was enjoying it so much that I decided to work on it for actually 2 rounds of my rotation instead. So Monopoly board got bumped, but I am working on it at the moment. So I'll insert a picture of where this was the last time you saw it. And this is it now. This big, huge, horrendous piece of fabric. All right. Oh, that's the back. It might be nice if I showed you the front. So here we go. So I have Go, Boardwalk, Luxury Tax, Park Place. That was done. This week now, since I started back into my rotation, I've gotten the Chance, Short Line, and Pennsylvania Avenue done. I've done the outline for Community Chest, and I think it's North Carolina goes here. So as mentioned in my previous videos, this is a combination of the old chart from 1985 to give me a guide for some of the symbols and my own charting. Like, I charted this myself. So it's no good for anyone to ask me for a pattern when I'm done. You know, it's colored with lead pencil on graph paper, literally. Like, actually it's downstairs at my stitchy spot because that's where I'm working on this. So it's a combination of, for example, the ring on the original chart, maybe if I can turn it this way, was originally charted to be yellow DMC. This was also supposed to be all filled in, I think. I didn't like the back stitching on the original ring. I didn't like any of the lettering on the original board chart, so I've changed all of the lettering. All of the lettering is different. The placement of stuff is different. There's blending filament in this ring, which you can't see because of this light. But there's blending filament in the ring, and there's also DMC gold in the ring. Yeah. And I did change some of the colors as well. So, yeah, this is not, and I've charted this to fit my coffee table that I have downstairs. So that's where this one is. So I'm hoping to have this side of the board done in the next couple days, because this is the piece I'm currently working on. So that is the plan. It's going really well. This is such a fun stitch. Oh my gosh, I'm so enjoying that, because every little block you do is like a little mini finish. And almost all of my pieces are large pieces, so when you get like one of those little mini finishes, it's really nice. So that's that one. The next one is going to be Record Girls. I'll insert a picture of where you saw this one last. And this is it now. So realistically, what I worked on when I first took it out for my rotation was more background. So I've decided basically that I'm going to work across the top and then go down. Because I had contemplated when I got about, I don't know, when I got about here or so, whatever the page finish was, maybe it was here, because that's a page and this is a page. I had contemplated on, yeah, this is a page finish right here. I had contemplated on working down one side and then coming back and working the other side. I said no. I just want to be able to put it in my Q-snap and then move it down, move it down, move it down, move it down. Because I don't use scroll frames or anything like that. I stitch everything I stitch, my heids, everything's done on Q-snap. Because my lovely husband built me a stand years ago, and it's made to fit my Q-snaps. Any size Q-snap will go into it, and I didn't want to have to alter it and go with scroll for, yeah, no. I already have Q-snaps, and that's what I use. So that is Record Girls. So that's the next one in my rotation now, so I will get back to her next week and after my Monopoly board gets put away. What else? 12 Days of Christmas, Monopoly board, Record Girls. Those are my three smaller WIPs, I guess you could call them. They're the smaller WIPs that I'm currently working on. Okay, I'll lay that out of the way. Oh, and in case anyone wants to see my sweatshirt, this was a gift from my kids this year for Christmas. It says Dispatcher. Only because full-time multitasking ninja is not an actual job title. Yeah, anyone who's spent any time in the dispatching or policing world will get the humor in that. Alrighty. Oh, stuff I have here, it's just ridiculous. Okay. So, other than those WIPs, I have my HAID that everyone knows I've been working on, called A Christmas Carol. I started working on that for Christmas. That was the last one in my rotation for 2015. And once I got it on my Q-Snap and I was enjoying working on it, and it was Christmas time, and it's the time of year when it was leading up to Christmas, and it's the time of year that I watch A Christmas Carol, like the movie, every year with my kids. I grew up watching it every year at Christmas with my mom and dad. So I decided I was just going to work on it for a couple of weeks instead of putting it back. And this is very slow going, as anyone who's doing a HAID will know. It's very slow going. I'm stitching this. I didn't tell you what I'm stitching any of the other stuff on. But anyway, doesn't really matter. If anyone wants to know what I'm stitching it on, what kind of fabric or anything, just ask. This one, my HAID, I'm stitching it on 25 count Lugana, and I'm doing 1/1. So one strand of floss over one square or one thread, one, weave of fabric, okay? I'll insert a picture of where you saw it last. There wasn't much progress at all on it because I had started it in September, and then I put it down, and I didn't pick it up anymore because I was working exclusively on my father's project until that was done and put to bed, and that took me till the end of November. Then when I picked my rotation up and decided I was going to start a rotation, I didn't start with this. I started with my Monopoly board, then I went to Record Girls, then I went to 12 Days of Christmas, I think, and then I went to this one because I wanted to have this one at the end of that rotation, so I would be working on it during the end of December, during Christmas. So I'll insert a picture of where it was. And this is where it is now. Da, da, da. So a couple of things with this one. I actually just have a couple little stitches, one there, and one there, and one there, and one there, that I have to fill in. And I'm almost finished the page. I might just finish this page off, even though I'm back to my rotation. I might just finish this little bit off. Or I could leave it till the next time. I find stitching the one, I love this because I'm starting to see the tops of the buildings and the little smokestacks. I'm starting to find that with this piece, because I'm only using one strand of floss, let's see if I can get this closer for you. Because I'm only using one strand of floss on this, and I can't use the loop method to start, I don't like having to flip my work over and anchor my thread and then start stitching and then park it. It's just taking too much time. And then when you end off a thread, I gotta flip it over again, and I'm having to flip my work and weave the thread twice on this piece, like with every thread, at the beginning of the thread and at the end of the thread. Whereas when you use the loop method, as everyone knows, you don't need to. You just start from the front, stitch away, and then when you're done your thread, you just weave it off once. That's it. So, I noticed Aisha, I believe that's her name, the Veiled Stitcher on YouTube. She uses waist knots. Okay? She uses waist knots, which are these things here. I had never used waist knots before, and I had seen her use them on her HAID that she's doing. And she happened to mention them in one of her videos where she was talking about her gridding and how she works a HAID. And she basically uses a three column process. So I decided to give it a try, and I'm actually liking this, and I'm finding it faster than weaving in my ends at the beginning. So basically, this would be the column that you're currently stitching. You can see I'm working down here, right? Okay. This is the column I'm currently stitching. These are my parked threads at the bottom. I did park some threads to the side because these colors here are not down here, so they kind of go across the sky instead of down. So just ignore those. So I'm working down the column. So as I need to start a thread for this column, I start at 2, so this is column 1, say. This is column 2, and this is column 3. So what I've been doing is, why is the light in here changing? Oh my God, this is irritating me. Okay. So what I've been, see how it's gotten bright all of a sudden? So what I've done is, column 1 is where I'm stitching. Column 3, this one over here, this is where I will start my thread. So if I need to stitch in here and I need to start a thread, I'll tie a little waist knot over here, and it just comes over and I come up through whatever hole I need to stitch in. And then I keep on stitching. As I finish off the thread, I pull it back up over in column 3 and I tie it off in a little knot and leave it there and cut it off with my scissors. Okay, done. So then, as I get this column finished now, I'll start stitching down this column. And as I'm stitching down this column, I will be stitching over the threads that are hanging on the back across here. Okay? Essentially weaving them in, only I don't have to take the time to weave them in because your stitching is automatically covering them up for you. So as I'm stitching down here, I will, and cover up those thread ends in column number 2, I will snip off the knots off the front of my fabric in column 3. So you can see that down here. So as I'm stitching, can I better hold this? It's too much fabric. So as I'm stitching right here, okay, as I'm stitching down here, these knots now can be cut off. These ones right here. Okay, I can cut those off now, but I left them there just to show you. So because I've already stitched down here, I can cut these knots off now. And then as I fill this in, I'll cut these ones off. As I start stitching in this column here, this now becomes column 1. This will become column 2, which is what these are. And column 3 will now be open for me to start and end my new threads over here. And you just carry on that way. At least that's the way I figured out to use it. I don't know if that's the right way to use it. I went by what Aisha briefly kind of, you know, just said she uses column 1, 2, and 3 and just ran with it. So Aisha, I apologize if that's not the way you do it, and but that's what's working for me. And I found that it is speeding up my stitching with the using one thread. It's not making my back any heavier than it would have been. It's just as it's the same. I don't have any extra bulkiness, or it's the same as if you were to weave it under, because I'll show you my back. I don't care about that, because these threads here are where I would have woven these under here to start stitching. So they're just here, laying here now, waiting to get stitched on top of, which is what was done in this column and this column, and there's no difference. And then these columns weren't. There's no difference in the thickness or the bulkiness of my work. None. And it's a lot faster when you're stitching with one thread. So I found that to be a godsend. When I discovered waist knots, I was like, oh. For a 1/1 piece anyway. So that was nice. And I just took up way too much time trying to explain that to you people, because everybody has already seen like 1/1 stitching like a million times, and y'all probably use waist knots, and it's not new news to you anyway. All right, that is all of my or was all of my WIPs. Then January 1st came in, and I decided that I was only going to participate in one sale that was for any new starts. And I'm on a cross stitch group. It's called X Stitch Canada. So X, like with a capital X, Stitch Canada. And it's all Canadian stitchers. They had a sale starting on the 1st of January that was supposed to be for a new start that was from a Canadian designer, or your subject matter could be Canadian themed. So not to be stereotypical, but for example, if you found a pattern that was made by someone from the States, but it was like an outdoorsy, hunty kind of pattern and it had moose in it. Moose is a Canadian themed thing. You could stitch the moose, even though it was a US designer. Just for argument's sake. Hockey, you know, anything that you can think of that's a traditional Canadian thing, right? Like, you know, moose, beaver, hockey, toque, snow, maple leaf. Or you could stitch a Canadian designer. Anyway, I decided I was going to do yet another big piece because, you know me, go big or go home, right? Go big or go home. There's a Newfoundland artist by the name of Adam Young. He's from Fogo Island, which is a little island off of Newfoundland, off central Newfoundland. Beautiful little spot. And he does amazing, amazing paintings that have all these vibrant colors. I just love his work. So, I contacted Adam and said, you know, would you mind if I stitch this piece? Yada, yada, yada. And you might as well get comfortable because this is a story. And he said, yes, fill your boots. Like, go right ahead. Do up the chart. Keep me updated. I would love to see your progress. Yay. So I decided I was going to do his painting that's called Quiet Frost. It's a painting he did a few years ago, so it's not a new painting of his. So that's what I decided I was going to do. Got a good photograph of it, charted it, no problem. I decided that because I was already doing a Haid, and I was already doing my Record Girls piece, and those are both full coverage designs already. And I had just finished Dad's piece. And I said, you know what? I'm going to give this whole tent stitching thing a try. So when I start Quiet Frost, I'm going to do it in tent stitch. Fair enough. So because it's full coverage, I decided I would do it on Aida. I get out the Aida. I decide I'm going to use 18 count because I want it to be small. I didn't want this big, huge piece. I just wanted something, you know, whatever. I start with the tent stitch. So, here's the issue I had. Because I've discovered, like, before I tried tent stitch, I was a bit dubious about whether or not I was going to like it because I am such a tried and true cross stitcher. I've proven myself right. I am a tried and true cross stitcher. I got out this piece, and maybe it's just the piece I was working on. I didn't like it. I got it out. I got it all on the Q-snap. It's 18 count. So 2 strands, like 2 strands of floss over 1 block on the Aida was not enough floss. Because it just wasn't. It's just not enough. It just didn't give you the full coverage kind of look you were looking for. So, couldn't use that. 3 strands of floss would have worked, but I didn't want to get into the whole situation of having to use waist knots again, and I wanted to be able to use a loop method to start without having to weave in the ends. Because I figured it was going to be bulky enough with having... It would be bulky enough having 3 strands that I didn't want to have to weave in 3 strands to start and weave them in again to end. It was just going to make the work, I thought the fabric, too bulky. That was my thought. Anyway, so then I said, I'll use 4 strands. excellent coverage. I can use a loop method to start, because you just take your 2 strands, fold them in half. Way to go. I did it. I will insert a picture of the piece that I'm working on so you can see what the finished design is going to look like. Now I'll insert a picture of the hot mess that happened when I decided to do the tent stitching. Now, some people told me it looked okay, but I just did not like it. I did not like the look of it. It was bulky, it was pilly looking, my tension didn't look right. I just did not like it. And I didn't like pulling 4 strands of floss through 18 count Aida. So here's a picture of that. And then this is what I decided to do in the end. I frogged it all. So January 1st or 2nd, whatever it was, when I started this piece, I started it, I did it in tint, I frogged it all, took it all back out, and I restarted it using 2/1 on 18 count, which is what my Record Girls is, which is what, you know, I prefer to use. And I'm doing full crosses, okay? So this is the fabric. It's just white Aida, and this is the start. So I'm doing 2/1. My stitches are laying much flatter, much neater. I like the look of it. I like the coverage. But that's as far as I got. So it was just a quick, I just stitched on it for like a day and a half just to rip out the other stitches and get these ones in. So that's where I am. Top corner of the design, and that's it. So this will now go into my regular rotation. So this will be piece number Monopoly Board, Record Girls, right? Monopoly Board, Record Girls, Haid, Quiet Frost. So this is piece number 4. Because the 12 Days of Christmas, I'm taking back and forth to work. So that's not really in my rotation. I'll just work on that in the evenings at work when time allows, when time permits. That could be months getting that done. I don't know. So that is Quiet Frost. Then Christmas elves showed up. Or I should say a Christmas elf. Naughty little Christmas elf. Donna Murray decided that she was going to send me a rack for Christmas. God love her. So Donna, I get an email that says, Donna Murray has sent you a rack, and and it's from Heaven and Earth Designs. So while they had their sale on for Christmas, Donna went in and purchased not 1, but 2 charts. 2 charts for me. For Christmas. And I cannot thank her enough. Donna, thank you so much. I still can't get over it. I'm flabbergasted. I really am. So the 2 pieces that she bought for me, one is a much larger piece, and one is also a large piece, typical of Haid. But I've decided to start one now. I started one at the 1st of January. And the other one, I'm actually going to leave and maybe start at the fall once I have something out of my rotation. Because to have 3 Haids going on at the one time, it's a little bit crazy, right? Right. Okay. To have 2 Haids going on at one time is a little bit crazy. But I just had to start this. I really did. I couldn't contain myself. So this is now going to become my 5th WIP in my rotation. It has become my 5th WIP in my rotation. I'm going to insert pictures of both of the designs that she got. One is Old World Map by Haid, and the other one is called, oh my gosh, I forget the exact name of it. It's something Past? A Colorful Past. And so I decided I was going to start working on the Old World map. And because I didn't want to do it on even weave, because I wanted a really nice large piece when it was finished, I decided I was going to do it on 18 count Aida. So this is the Aida. Okay. I'm holding it the wrong way. It goes this way. This is the Aida. It's going to be huge. But, you know, when you think about those old maps, like those really old maps that you see on walls, and they're big. They're like large, huge, old-fashioned maps of the world. So I wanted it to be big. So I'm doing it on 18 count instead of the recommended 25. 18 count Aida, 2/1. This is page 1. So I managed to get the black outline done. And then I managed to start the stitching. Okay, so there we are. So I managed to get some of the stitching started, and that's it. So this is now put away for my rotation. So I got the first block done in the corner, and I started the second block coming down this column. And that's where I am with that piece. So thank you so much, Donna. I really can't thank you enough. I'm just flabbergasted at the generosity and our lovely friendship that has developed over the last number of months. You know, it's been fantastic. I'm just so pleased, so pleased. So that is my 5th WIP. I have 4 full coverage pieces. Yeah, 4. Record Girls, Quiet Frost, and 2 Hades. It's 4. And then I have my Monopoly board, so it's 5 WIPs in my rotation. Yeah. So this will be at the end of my rotation. So this won't come out again until next month. And yeah, I'm going to start trying to whittle down these WIPs. I will be years finishing these, I'm sure. But there will be many years of enjoyment of stitching. So yeah, that's all of my WIPs. So my plans for 2016 are still in full swing. The only thing that changed was I've added in that extra Hade. I am on a focus to finish and will be continuing to focus on all of these pieces and trying to get them done. And that's it. Yeah. Next thing, FFOs. I had 2 FFOs in December. One was my father's boat project, which I finished stitching and gave him for his birthday. It turned out lovely. I don't have it with me physically to show you because I've already given it to him for his birthday, but I will insert some pictures so that you can see it. I'll insert a picture of him opening it. You can see his face. He's got. My sister took the photographs. I gave him the piece, and my sister took some pictures. One of them, he's like opening the gift, and then but when he sees it, he does this thing like his face kind of goes, like he's got this like kind of look on his face. So I'll try and insert that picture as well if I can remember to do it when I go back and edit this or whatever, or add in the pictures. But it's just so cute. He was really pleased with it. He had a fabulous 70th birthday. All of the family was there. My aunts, my uncles. We had a great little party at his house, at my mom and dad's house. And I gave him the boat, and he was just so pleased with it. And it was worth every stitch. I was really pleased with how it turned out. The people at the framing place that I took it to, they did a lovely job putting it together for me. I had it professionally stretched and matted. They cut the mats and did it all for me and mounted it. But I then picked out a frame myself and put it in the frame myself. So I'll insert some pictures here. And then the second FFO was the Doctor Who piece that I was doing for my nephew. He's 16. He'll be 17 now this month in January. He's a huge Doctor Who fan. And I did a Clouds Factory design for him. And that piece was just a piece I stitched on at work in my free time. And I got it done in plenty of time for Christmas. I did make a couple alterations to the chart. One of which was there's two of the doctors had white hair and they were stitched on white Aida. So they basically looked bald when you looked at the design. So I back stitched their hair in like a gray color just so it would stand out. And the second thing was because I wasn't going to mat it, I just wanted to put it in a long frame and I didn't want to mat it. So instead of matting it, I stitched a blue border across the top and across the bottom just to kind of set the piece off. So I'll insert two pictures, one of the finished piece and all framed up and one of my nephew with it. Okay, so next thing. I think I've pretty much gone through everything. Gone through my WIPs, my updates, and my FFOs. What else I wanted to talk about was, okay. All right. This is another story. Sit back. So, Claire, who goes by Pyrex Stitches on Pyrex Stitches or Pyrex Stitcher? Pyrex Stitches, I think, on YouTube, on Flosstube. Oh, Claire has opened a Pandora's box for me. Yeah, the beast has been let out, Claire, and I can't put it back. I can't do it. Claire has come up with this floss storage system that she's currently using for her floss. And it's fabulous. So, I mean, I've seen other people come up with different ways of storing their floss and they all look great. But Claire has a closet. I think she calls it a cupboard, but we call it a closet. She has a closet in her craft room that is basically the rail, like in the closet, is not in use. So she has come up with a way to store her extra floss, like her extra skeins of floss, like, you know, these are the ones I have for one of my heids. Her extra skeins of floss. She's come up with a way to hang those on coat hangers, but they're all numbered and they're all hanging from rings, and oh, they just look so lovely. Like they look like, they're like eye candy, right? They just look great. It's neat. It's stored, you know, numerically. Everything's orderly. It doesn't take up a huge amount of space. It looks great. I loved the idea of it. But I do not have a closet in my craft room. I do have a craft room because I scrapbook like a lot as well. I used to be really huge into scrapbooking. I used to teach classes, all that sort of stuff. I still scrapbook at home, but I'm not involved in the scrapbook community as much. Anyway, the thing is, I don't have a closet down there, but I loved this idea. And then she put it in my head about getting my hubby, who seems to be pretty handy, to make a floss cabinet. And then she said, you could even have it on wheels. So you could like pull it out to your stitchy spot. And, oh, it's just gotten out of hand now, Claire. It's gotten out of hand. So I've mentioned it to my husband and I drew up this whole little thing. So in the upcoming months, he's agreed to build this for me, by the way, Claire. In the coming months, I will have a floss cabinet. a custom floss cabinet. And the idea is that it's going to have a rail at the top. It's going to be an enclosed cabinet with covered doors on the front, about the size of, you know, the dimensions on the top of a TV tray. So I can pull it in next to my stitchy spot. I can use the top like a tabletop where I can lay my iPad and my drink and all my stitchy kind of stuff. The door underneath will open up. My floss will all be hanging in there. Then there will be shelves underneath that where I can put my bobbin boxes for my kitted up pieces. And there will be a shelf underneath that that will accommodate these big 13 by 13, I think they are, boxes that I store my, that's what I store like my WIPs and my patterns, my fabric, that sort of thing in, because it keeps them really clean. So I can stack like a few of these on top of each other, and then, yeah. So that's in the works, Claire, just so you know. I had to mention it, I had to bring it up because you put the idea in my head, and now it's just taken over. So I don't know when the floss cabinet's going to be built. If there's any indication of how long it took him to build me this table was supposed to be a Christmas present year before last. So I don't think it was last Christmas. Year before last. Yeah, he built this table. I'll try and insert a picture of my table. He built this table out of pallets, like, you know, like delivery pallets, like those big pallet that you put, like, what am I trying to say? Pallets that are in warehouses that product would be stored on and wrapped, you know, in cello, and then, you know, the forklifts move them like actual pallets. He got a whole bunch of discarded pallets from a warehouse, sanded the wood, cut it all up, pieced it all together, and built me a table. Because I wanted it like a butcher block, like hard, I wanted a harvest table, and he built it for me. The ends of it, he's got steel rod running through it so that, you know, the wood won't warp or twist or come apart. The holes that were in the ends, he capped them off with railway spikes, so it's really rustic looking. And then I hand painted the chairs. Like I did my chairs myself and painted the designs on, all freehand, no stencils. I just, you know, drew with paint on them. Anyway, and the seats of the chairs were all done as well. I'll try and insert a picture. But if it was any indication of how long it took him to build me this table, I don't know when I'm going to get this floss cabinet. But it's in the works. And he actually had a doctor's appointment yesterday. And when he came home last night from work, he says to me, "Oh yeah, well, I was at the doctor's office yesterday. I was looking at some ideas for, like, you know, the inside of the cabinet and maybe how the shelving should be, or how the door should be on, whether it's one door or two doors." And so, yeah, so now the seed's been planted in his head. He's going to run with it and measure up my stuff and come up with a lovely cabinet, I'm sure. So that's the end of my video. Oh my God, it's almost an hour of me rambling. What the frig? Everybody have a good stitchy day. Everybody have a good stitchy week. And I will see you for another update soon. I'll try not to be as long this time. It wasn't really all that long, but it was like a month. It was all of December and now into January. But I will try to get one done by the end of January, so like in 3 weeks' time, so you can see how my WIPs are going, how the rotations go, and that sort of thing. Anyway, have a great day, have a great stitchy week, and we'll see you soon. Bye.